What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Halloween 2024 movie collection update. Right before Halloween, I tried to make as much of a concentration around horror movies as I could. It's not 100% horror, but it's a lot of horror here for the Halloween season. So let's get right into it. And we are going to start off with one that is very close and personal. I've been plugging it away on all these other updates, and I am very happy to finally show the John Wayne Gacy Murders, Life and Death in Chicago. Featuring yours truly, Ken Pataki, in a role. I am in this as all of the victims. So in all of the reenactment scenes, whenever there's a stunt, whenever there's a neck being strangled, whenever there's hands in cuffs, whenever there's feet in shackles, whenever my face is being plunged under the water, whenever a man is walking alone at night, that's me. I was the symbolic figure of all of the victims in this. I did a lot of stunt work, a lot of B-roll. John Borowski was great to work with, and this is bar none the most thorough, in-depth, chronological series that's ever been done on John Wayne Gacy. It's supposed to be streaming on Prime very soon. It's not there yet. If you pre-order this from John Borowski's website, I'll put the link down below. I think he's still got some left. You will get this limited edition out of 250 card signed by key people from Gacy's life. Yeah, I can't talk enough about this. Definitely check it out. Yeah, it's an honor for me to be attached to it, have my name on there, and it's my first official thing. So there's that, and Borowski was even nice enough to let me have a sealed copy, which I just think is cool. Then we're going to have MaXXXine, which I have a very unpopular opinion on this one. X, I'm not a big fan of. Pearl, I think, is really good. Everyone hates this one, but I don't know. Of the three, this was easily my favorite. Maybe because the aesthetic is most closely related to what I like, and I just like the style of it. I like the cast more, but I just got into this one. It's really stupid, yeah, but I don't know. I love the soundtrack. I love the vibes, and I don't know. I dug it. A lot of people say it's the weakest of the trilogy. Tell you the truth, it's the only one I could really see myself rewatching. Even though I acknowledge Pearl has a lot of really strong technical merits, I like this one. So, and then also from the summer, I actually just picked this up yesterday just because I wanted to own it. Twisters. I'm a big fan of the original Twister, and even though this is not really a sequel, there's nothing that relates this to the original, which I appreciate because I'm so tired of legacy sequels and callbacks and all that lazy Hollywood hack bullshit. This is its own movie completely, and even though I do have a lot of nostalgia for the silliness of the original, there are some aspects of this one I like more. And it really plays with your expectations of the first Twister, because you think characters that are going to be villains and characters that are going to be good, oh, this is clearly like so-and-so from the 96 movie. But this movie kind of pulls the old switcheroo on that and plays with your expectations a little bit, which I appreciated. So overall, I did really enjoy Twisters. Saw that in the theater. The Hitcher, the standard second sight Blu-ray. This is a movie that I've been wanting to see for so many years. I know it has a high reputation as this cult classic, one of the most underrated horror movies of all time. It's loaded up with special features. And I just bought this standard edition, but they also had this deluxe box set of it where you could get all this shit with it. I didn't need all that. This was actually my first time viewing of The Hitcher, but I do really like C. Thomas Howell and, of course, Rutger Hauer. And I know it's a strong cult classic and everyone loves this, and I did enjoy the movie. I liked it. But it was definitely massively overhyped for me, because by the time the movie was over, I'm like, oh, yeah, Rutger Hauer's creepy. There's a lot of really strong, tense moments in this. I wouldn't even really call this a horror. Like, everyone says it's a horror movie. It's really gross. It's really gruesome. I'm here to tell you right now, in my opinion, this is not a horror movie at all. This is 100% a thriller. Sans for one scene involving a finger. to me, this checks more boxes of being a thriller than it does a horror, because pretty much every kill in the movie's off screen. So it's a little weird, but I mean, Rutger Hauer's awesome. It is a film that does a really good job keeping you tense, keeping you like, oh shit, where is this going? What's going to happen? And I know there's a direct-to-video sequel that's supposedly a piece of shit, and a remake that's supposedly a piece of shit, so it's probably going to be my only venture with the Hitcher, but it's a good movie. It was definitely a little overhyped for me, but it is a good movie. I bought this at the convention, Linnea Quigley's Horror Workout. I sat through it. It's dumb as hell, but it's funny. It's every horny 80s teen out there that was a horror fan. This was probably... you probably rewound this a lot to your desired satisfaction. But just sitting here watching this in 2024, it's just kind of a humorous little, thing. I'm Dangerous tonight. I picked this up from a Kino Lorber sale. I was intrigued by the premise, because I'm like, okay, it's a movie about a haunted dress. I see Anthony Perkins and R. Lee Ermey in the same movie, and sadly those two guys do not share scenes. I wish they did. R. Lee Ermey is only in some of it as a police captain. Really odd comic relief where he's always eating everybody's food in the scenes he's in, so... it's not that good. Anthony Perkins, for what he's in it for, is good, but he is vastly underused. And, like, the premise of a haunted dress, it only goes so far. But, hey, kudos to Kino Lorber for keeping those kind of gems coming out. And, I mean, it was directed by Tobe Hooper, so, I mean, there was skill behind the camera. Then the other one from the Kino Lorber sale, not a Halloween horror movie at all, but it's Youngblood, a movie I first saw way back when I was in high school, junior year. It's so 80s, and it's so typical of that sports movie formula, but there's a charm to it. I really like Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze together again, since The Outsiders. Phenomenal soundtrack. And Cynthia Gibb. When is she not the most adorable person on screen? So, but then again, I think the only thing better than that movie is Tea with Miss McGill. Hostage, thriller with Bruce Willis that I had never seen before, and this was actually a pretty decent one. I was expecting it to be a bit more low budget and schlocky than it actually was. It's not perfect. Our three hoodlum villains are definitely pretty shallow and written pretty dumb. Not that the characters are dumb, even though they are, but like the way they're written just feels, shoddy. It's kind of a generic action movie, but everything that's in it is done really well, and Bruce Willis was still kind of giving it. This is like 2005, so, it's before he was ill. So it's a fully serviceable action thriller. Wanted this for Halloween to get into the spirit, and sad to say, neither of these movies really did anything for me. I was like, I don't really have that much with witches, and I feel like that would be good for this Halloween update. So I got this double feature of Practical Magic and The Witches of Eastwick. Practical Magic is basically like a chick flick Halloween movie almost. I mean, it's fine, but it's not my cup of tea. And The Witches of Eastwick, I'm disappointed I didn't like more than I did, because I love Crazy Jack Nicholson. And you get him in this, you get Crazy Jack Nicholson, but everything else about the movie, I just could not get into. So this is a double feature that sadly did not really pay off, but both movies were definitely steeped in the fall atmosphere, so they were good watches for Halloween, just not really my thing. This one, however, was my thing, and it even autographed by Charles Band. Dolls, directed by Stuart Gordon. And this is fun. This is a fun time. It's a grim fairy tale with killer dolls, directed by Stuart Gordon. This beats the hell out of anything that ever came out of the Puppet Master series, which is a series I never got into. And just the music, the atmosphere, the goofy 80s-ness of it. Because the thing is, as creepy as this movie is, it's equal parts hilarious. Like, the whole ending scene when he's reading the letter it's comic gold. And it's just such a tight, well-made, well-acted, even if some of it's over the top, especially with the parents. But yeah, I love Dolls. Dolls, quintessential Halloween viewing. That's a great one. Disturbia, the 2007 kind of loose remake of Rear Window with Shia LaBeouf. And, it checks all the boxes I expected it to. The story did not deviate at all from where I thought it was going. But the villain's creepy enough. There's definitely an odd tone to the whole thing that was appreciated. And I know Shia LaBeouf, he's had his problems in there. But I mean, I think he does fine here. Between this and another movie I saw with him called Eagle Eye, he had a charm to him of this time period. And I think that's one of the biggest assets to this movie is that it is so of that time period that it's good. Like, I didn't love the movie, but it's perfectly entertaining. Same with this one, a horror comedy I really had never heard of before. And the comedy didn't really land for me. Like, this is one of those things where the first half of the movie starts off as one thing, but then at the halfway point, the storyline completely shifts into being a knockoff of other things, and it's very derivative. So everything it does pretty well. It just doesn't exceed that far, and it's this Australian film called Housebound. It was fine for a watch. I was curious where it was going, but it is derivative, especially the reveal of what is actually happening in this house. What's the funny story about this is that I ordered this on Amazon, and I got the notification saying that Housebound had been delivered. So I open up the Amazon package, only to see that they accidentally sent me a pair of infant ladybug slippers. So I will always have that memory tied to Housebound. The Skeleton Key, some good old-fashioned Louisiana Bayou voodoo horror here. This was a pretty cool one. There's some really cool, creepy imagery in it. The thing is, the plot of this is basically Get Out. So it's like when Jordan Peele was writing Get Out, I think he was definitely watching this because there's a lot of parallels between, the two of them. But this one was cool. It was very intriguing. It kept me into the mystery. Kate Hudson in the lead. Good job. And, cool finale and a cool way to kind of wrap the story up. So this one I enjoyed. It's not wholly, it's very of the time where in the mid-2000s you had all these ghost stories and, films that had a similar vibe, but that one does it all well. The final Blu-ray, before moving on to the DVDs, I was so excited to finally watch this. This is a movie that had been on my wish list for a long time, and when I saw it was getting a Blu-ray through Warner Archive, I finally picked it up, and it did not disappoint. Black Belt Jones, baby. Blaxploitation action comedy to the extreme. I absolutely adored this. It had me cracking up. It had me cheering. The finale, which takes place in a car wash, definitely goes on a little long, but the zaniness and the 70s-ness of this whole thing, I had a ball. If this is the type of thing that you could get into, this delivers on every possible front you can think of. This gets a high recommendation for me. Long live the master Jim Kelly. All right, we got a couple things that were never released on... Oh, shit, I'm forgetting one. Hold on a second. And we're back. So these are things that were never released on Blu-ray. So these are DVD only. Got 5 of them. And the first one... To go inside with Mr. Borowski, I bought Gacy, featuring Mark Holton from Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Teen Wolf as Gacy. This made me laugh because it tries to tell the Gacy story in a fictitious way, There's Easter eggs to real life elements of the Gacy case, but for the most part, this is made up and kind of crap. This, not a good movie at all. If you want to see something about Gacy, watch John Borowski's 8-episode miniseries where you get to see me get tortured and get killed. Don't watch this one. This is a waste of your time. Severance, really cool British horror comedy. My expectations were a little lowered because I saw a film last year that I loved called The Cottage. I can't recommend that one highly enough. So I feel like that kind of beat this one to the punch because there's definitely a lot of similarities between the way the two movies go. But this one still made me laugh. There's still some really good moments. And the story goes in a crazy direction near the end that I never would have assumed a story like this would go. So at least that there's a unpredictability to it that kind of kept me into it. So Severance, fun. Very fun British comedy. Storm Warning, kind of this backwoods Australian outback kidnap revenge story. It's okay. Like, the comeuppance for the villains at the end is pretty good, and it does get pretty gory. But beyond that, I didn't really get a whole lot out of that one. Monster Man. This one was nuts. So this one is Texas Chainsaw Massacre with a monster truck. And it's more of a frat boy college sex comedy than it is a horror movie. For all intents and purposes, it kind of sucks. But at the same time, it's so unusual and bizarre that I kind of recommend all of you go out and see this. Like, it's pretty hilarious for reasons intentional and unintentional. And lastly, this was a complete blind buy. Obviously, with movies like The Hitcher and all these other stuff, I love my car, hot rod type things. Never saw this one before. The cover is kind of misleading. It makes it look more like an action movie than it really is. But Roadhouse 66 with Willem Dafoe and Judge Reinhold. This one's kind of interesting because I love the vibe. It's, I don't know if I'd say slice of life, but you have Judge Reinhold is this yuppie New Yorker, gets tangled in with Willem Dafoe, who's this drifter, greaser type. And they come into this small desert town on Route 66. All the cars are from like the 50s, and it's the rockabilly music. I love the vibe of stuff like this, and it accumulates in a race. You've seen this movie done better probably dozens of times, but that kind of thing just charms the hell out of me, which is what this did. It's a very charming movie that I really got into, especially if you love cars, you love that classic Route 66 retro vibe. This has it, and it's a pretty fun watch. It moves by at a pretty quick pace. Okay, and now ending up with the TV shows. I was excited because, as I said, I love Anthony Perkins, and I like anthology shows. And this is one that I had never heard of. I'm like, wait a minute, so there was an anthology show hosted by Anthony Perkins that I've never seen? Sign me up! And it's this thing called Chillers. And my God, is every episode terrible. Like, now I could see why I never heard of this. It's basically a horror anthology show for ritzy elderly people. That's the best way I could do it. I mean, Anthony Perkins does fine with what he's given in the opening and outro of each episode, but yeah, this was a mighty waste of time. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Freaky Favorites, which is a horribly mismarketed thing, as these are just the first 6 episodes of the 6th season. It is not a best of, and the 6th season is kind of towards the later part when the show came back. So take the title Freaky Favorites with a grain of salt, especially when one of the 6 episodes is The Tale of the Gruesome Gourmets, which is highly considered the worst episode of the show, even though that episode entertained the living hell out of me. But all these episodes are decent. There's not really a bad... The only one on here I really didn't like was The Tale of the Misfortune Cookie. just because that one bored me too much. But yeah, if you want the first 6 episodes of the 6th season, there you go. But Freaky Favorites, that's not what I mean. How can you hate Are You Afraid of the Dark, though? Like Halloween, 90s kid, like, it's perfect. The Midnight Society. And lastly, I picked up 3 used DVDs of a show that I loved watching when I was in middle school and high school. Ghost Adventures. We've got the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th season of that. Zach Bagans. I mean, this is when the show was good. When it was Zach, Nick, and Aaron. Nobody else, no other gimmicks, no crazy stuff. This is when the show was at its peak. I think after season 5, maybe I'll pick up season 5 of this, but after that, it's not worth watching. Say what you will about the credibility of these early seasons. It's fun, it's entertaining, and it's nostalgic as hell for me, so sue me. And that, ladies and gentlemen, has been my Halloween 2024 movie collection update. Leave the comments down below. There's a lot going on in life. There's going to be a lot more videos coming to you soon that I'm very excited about, so make sure you stay tuned for all of those. Yeah, let me know down below what movies you're watching for the Halloween season, if you have any other horror recommendations, and trust me, we will see you all very soon. Thanks, everyone.